Thank you. Okay, first off, I'd like to say, thank you to Andy for inviting us down to this tonight. We literally only just launched a couple of months ago, and Andy tweeted us saying, do you want to come to the next refresh? So very, very rapidly, we had to get things together and start thinking about what we're going to talk about and what sort of work we're going to showcase. But anyway.
So, hello everyone. We are Little Thunder Co. And just before we begin, I'd like to clarify that we're not to be confused with our main competitors, Big Thunder Co. I'd like to thank Johnny Campbell for that very quick party. You're off the mark very quickly there, Johnny.
So, if anybody wants to comment on our talk tonight, you've probably realised that there's absolutely no mobile signal whatsoever in this place. If you can get it, you can, tweet hashtag the expedition, or alternatively, if you want to sort of write stuff on paper and sort of throw it at the front, we'll accept that as well. There's also bonus points if you hit either of us. Okay. So, what do we do? Well, we humanize experiences with design, and we don't hear the word humanize mentioned too often, but we're all striving to achieve it in, one way or another. And for us, this means transitioning of real-world interactions into the digital realm. So if you have a conversation with somebody face-to-face, you're communicating in a context that both parties understand, and we try to apply the same characteristics to our work. Conversational, story-led design, with a focus on people, and people do really great things. When people get together, they can do, the possibilities are endless, and this is going to lead us on to the topic for the night. So tonight, if you read the refresh blurb, we're going to talk about the expedition and our expedition. And I think it's good to start by looking at the definition of expedition from the Oxford Dictionary. So it's a journey undertaken by a group of people with a particular purpose, especially that of exploration.
So looking back, Tim and I realised the importance of the human aspect of our journey so far. We don't talk enough about the value of people, your co-workers, the mentors, the clients, and the users. We talk about process, techniques, technologies, but the people are key, the driving force, constant and the means for survival, but both in the literal sense and the success of our work. It's about the human aspect and the relationships we have, and the design is secondary to this and only exists because of the interactions that we have with people. As designers, the majority of our work remains faceless. We get the final result and it's easy to forget that there are people behind the pixels.
Every single one of us is made up of a conscious, a pre-conscious, and a subconscious. These are all experiences and habits and behaviours that have ultimately determined the type of people we are. It defines our personalities, our likes, our dislikes, and our mannerisms. A lot of this is said to be based on our genetic makeup. Other factors include where you grew up, where you live, and those that were present during those important developmental years, and much, much more. Like each pixel that makes up the bigger picture, we're all uniquely constructed from the experiences that we've had in our lifetime. And on that note, it's worth us talking about where our expedition begins, and for that we have to go back to the early 80s when we were both born.
Although we both have a degree in design, we've got here from quite different places. From a very early age, I loved to draw and get creative. And like many designers born in the 80s, I was heavily influenced by the explosion of games consoles at that time. I can remember creating sketches from my own sketches from Super Mario levels at primary school. And fast forwarding to my A-levels in 1998, I discovered Photoshop, which basically meant that I messed about with the various filters that were in the package. And shortly afterwards, I created my first website.
So for me, my creative drive came from music. Yeah, this was me a couple of years ago. In fact, one of the last times I was actually on the stage was actually playing with my bands. But for me, design shares many of the same sort of fundamentals and characteristics as design. We often talk about composition, we talk about rhythm, we talk about repetition and balance. And even for me, that sort of extends to the majority of mediums that any of us can think of. So, going back to 1998, this is around the time I began to teach myself guitar. And at the same time, I started to design really bad websites at college. But for me, they both went hand in hand. Now, be that luck or be that for a reason, I'm still not sure. But subconsciously, I've always conducted the creative process in exactly the same manner. Be it, writing a song or maybe, designing a website or whatever. Back then, I was absolutely terrible at both. But I've had a lot of time to refine both crafts. The only way, I suppose, going back to the people aspect of this, the only way that I could make music happen was by playing in a band with other guys. They're here tonight. Who played, instruments that I couldn't, and everybody within the band had their own creative role. And in my day-to-day life as a designer, I rely on people with different skills to bring my projects to life, be it a developer, an illustrator, or a videographer.
So you'll see from the next few slides that we've led an almost identical education and career path, but in fact our paths didn't cross until many years later.
So we both studied interactive multimedia design at the University of Ulster, and although we were the same age, Gabe started in fresh from school, whereas I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I decided it'd be a really good idea to be an IT systems engineer. So I was a poor guy who was sort of trailing Cat5 cables through roof cavities to try and install networking systems, and also setting up like really horrible Microsoft Exchange email servers and things like that. As I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got a little bit disheartened by it, so I decided that I wanted to pursue my passion of design, and I joined Interactive Multimedia Design in 2002.
So we both ended up working our university placement at Lagan Technologies. By the time Tim was on placement, I was in my final year. I then secured a job with Bluecube Interactive as a junior web designer, and left again just before Tim joined as a freelancer in 2006 after he graduated from IMD.
So 2006, I guess, was a pretty interesting year for both of us. We were both out of university and we were in the big bad world sort of fending for ourselves as freelancers. And I ended up freelancing, not out of choice, but out of need. I found that there was very little local design jobs back then. Thankfully, things have changed, and we've got a really great creative hub here in Belfast. But my solo voyage as a freelancer was about discovery on a personal level, and also the art of marrying, business with my passion for design. But I soon found out that there was a dark side to our industry. I'm not talking about the cool Star Wars kind of dark side. In fact, I found that my website, this very website here, had been sort of plagiarized many, many times across the world by many different people. So some of you may know me as the guy whose website is constantly plagiarized, which actually spawned Johnny Campbell's parody earlier on of our Little Thunder website as soon as we launched. Incredible, Johnny. But Davy Hughes, is Davy in tonight? There he is. Davy Hughes said to me some time ago that I was probably the most plagiarized man in the world. There's a very good reason for that, which I'm about to show you. So this, as I said, was my site, and I ended up spending a lot of my time not designing, but sending out cease and desist letters to these people who had actually taken my work and plagiarized it and was passing it off as their own. So I've actually had a pretty good success rate in getting them removed, but I'm going to sort of highlight a few sort of examples as we go on here. So this is me, and this is also Dave, and this is his cloud apparently. This is Dylan. He's from New Zealand. This is Julian. He's from France. This is Opcode Engine Team, and they're from Jakarta. This is Dima from Ukraine. And this is an interesting case, as you'll not believe this. This plagiarism actually ended up in me having to give a statement to the police. Because the so-called guy here, Jason, as he'd been advertising his services, was using Gumtree as sort of a portal to sort of, bring in client work. Basically what this guy was doing, he stole my website, changed the name of it with a really bad PNG that actually didn't even match up to the colour of the background. I don't know how you got that wrong, but anyway. But he was actually started taking deposits for work. And then what he would do, he would get the money in, he would close down the site, and he would set it up again under another pseudonym, using my portfolio and using, the work that I had done. Okay, so I ended up actually being investigated by the police because they thought that mine was another of these sort of criminal websites that was actually taking deposits off people. Turned out it was Johnny Campbell. But in all honesty, I don't actually think they got the guy. But I really learned I really learned a lot about this, and that there really is a sort of this dark side, and there's a lot of cowboys out there. For every single one of you that are trying to do something really good in this community, there's several others who are just taking other people's work and passing it off as their own. So this is my sort of expedition. This is my journey into it, and these were the things that I uncovered along the way. So here's a few more. I'm not going to bore you with them because I have so many of them, but this is actually a site that I have been unable to remove. I usually have about a 90% removal rate. Usually it's okay if you send them out a cease and desist letter. Usually they absolutely crap themselves and they're like, okay, sorry sir, I'll take my work offline. A lot of the time it's rookie error. It's designers who don't actually know what they're doing. In the case of this guy, he was well established and he was passing himself off as a freelancer. I can't get this site removed without a court order because it's hosted in Turkey, and I don't know what the copyright laws are there, but they obviously, usually sending an email to them saying, listen, you're hosting copyrighted material, please remove it. They say that they couldn't do it without a court order. Court order was going to cost me a ridiculous amount of money, and it just actually got to the point where you just have to laugh it off. But for your sanity and obviously for your bank account. So I guess this is one of the ones that got away. This is Idea Corners. This is Chris. This is Sampath. This one I love because some people have absolutely no idea what their country looks like. Brilliant. And some people seem to have a liberal understanding of the word unique. But of course, the absolute worst plagiarism of them all is Johnny Campbell, who's becoming a feature of this talk.
So, unfortunately, my freelancing career hasn't been as exciting as Tim's. There were no cops involved or international lawsuits. It's fair to say that Tim's lived a rather maverick lifestyle. However, I've worked with a multitude of great agencies on lots of interesting projects. One of the main companies I worked with was Barefoot, based in Maherfeld. It was actually run by my brother, and they've commissioned a lot of my time over the last 7 years. I learned a lot of valuable skills, including dealing with clients, business management, and all of the other fun stuff that us designers get to do. So, we'd known each other for quite a few years at this point, and it'd been nothing more than sort of saying hello in the odd conversation. Some work had come up, and I knew that Tim was a freelancer, so it was at this stage that we started to work on projects together as two freelancers. We started to build trust and appreciation for each other's ability over the next few years. So, following many conversations about creating something greater than we could do on our own, in March this year, we officially partnered and founded Little Thunder Co. We strongly believe that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. It's a simple calculation on paper, but in reality, collaboration is the most valuable asset that we have. For us, collaboration is essential, and sharing skills across different disciplines can give a unique insight into problem solving. And by tapping into knowledge of people, you will reach a level of proficiency that otherwise you may have taken years.
So during the time that we collaborated, it became apparent that there was a lot of similarities. We had the same sort of work ethic, we had the same appreciation for design and those sort of styles, and we had a similar personality type. But importantly, we had different skills that we could bring to the business, and that's still a better love story than Twilight.
So do work that you can enjoy, so you be good at what you love. This is a recent quote from Trent Walton. And Frank Chimera also summed this up nicely by saying, Daft Punk got to record the Tron soundtrack because they'd already recorded the Tron soundtrack. If you want to get hired to do something, you should already be doing it. An example of this for us was icon design. Tim runs an icon resource called Icons, and like most of us here, we share our work through Dribble.
So I was doing this sort of icon design in my spare time. It was a little bit of fun, and it was a hobby of mine. And actually, coming from an education background, I actually was sort of using this as an education resource, so people could come on and sort of figure out, how do these sort of iOS style icons exist? But as a byproduct off the back of this, I was approached by Sega of America, who were literally childhood heroes of mine. When I first read the subject of the email, which was entitled Your Icons, I thought that I myself was going to receive a cease and desist letter and be asked quite promptly to remove my work. It was quite the opposite, in fact. They had commissioned us to create an icon and a title screen for one of their upcoming apps. And now we have established that connection with them, and that relationship. And I really don't think that this would have happened had I not gone off my own bat and created this icon. So we're going to talk a little bit now about our differences and how they have influenced our sort of daily work. And differences are good. It gives each of us a unique perspective on a situation, and we encourage one another to pursue a particular path.
So Tim and I are polar opposites when it comes to certain things. For example, quite often how we dress. Tim goes for comfort every time and tells me that his wife basically buys everything that he wears.
It's not a lie. These in fact, what I'm wearing right now are probably my tightest jeans that I actually own.
And these are probably the loosest trousers that I own as well. So more often than not, I would be wearing a very specific nerdy designer tee and skinny jeans that are arguably 2 sizes too small and also too short. Another example of this point from Trent Walton and Frank Chimera, where do work that you enjoy, is I have a particular interest in the production of authentic Irish clothing. So I went about creating this fictional brand, Tinker Tailor. Now, whilst we may not have landed a client in the fashion industry off the back of this, we have attracted like-minded clients who appreciate this style of creative that we otherwise may not have had the chance to do. And to us, this is really important, and we will continue to work on passion projects with the goal of attracting interesting projects and clients that are invested, that we are invested and interested in.
And I guess, another difference between us is in our downtime, how we like to relax. And Gabe is a bit of a sports fan. He likes to do sort of crazy stuff like going swimming in locks at like minus 10 degrees in the middle of winter and doing all these sort of triathlete things, whereas I like to, sit in my room and jam and sort of compose songs and things like that. But, from this, we've been able to apply these interests into another creative output for our daily work.
So we both bring different skills and interests to Little Thunder, and it's the marriage of these individual characteristics that fuel our creativity.
Still a better love story than Twilight. And this naturally extends to the way we approach problems. We've all been there. There's sometimes that you've sat down, you've been working on something, you think that you've exhausted all the ideas, but then all you really need is, the vision, the unique perspective of somebody else to come along and look at that and say, listen, I think this is really good. Why don't we try this and take this in a new direction? And, that works both ways. And we're basically like breathing new life back into sort of old, exhausted ideas.
So trusting others is an extremely valuable characteristic, but it has to be reciprocated. You have to completely trust the instinct of others in order to better yourselves and the business. So we were running a joke in the office that I'm constantly the pessimistic one and Tim's the optimistic one. So hopefully we have a balance in there somewhere. But if you think about it, we're building a business, and to that point, building something that we enjoy doing, and that allows us to explore our passions, but we'll also pay our mortgages at the end of the day and put food on the table. So there is a lot of pressure, but as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved, and that's the power of collaboration.
I suppose I just wanted to talk a little bit about teamwork, because for us, this was the first time that we'd sort of come together. And one of the first things we did when we decided to form this partnership was we were going to get office space. Previously, I personally had been working out of my, my spare bedroom and stuff, as I'm sure a lot of people here do that. But sort of we moved in their office and we looked at it and we looked at the situation. We said that, okay, this office has been set up with the tables facing back to back. So actually, one of the first things we did was we moved them side by side. And, this helps our productivity and communication, and we can quickly look and sort of discuss ideas in this manner. So side by side in this literal sense is also sort of symbolic of a business partnership, and we like to sort of carry that through as our ethos of the business.
So recently we've been able to cast the net a bit wider and expand our team. And last month we took on our first official employee, Michael McKeever. Not sure where Michael's at. Where are you at, Michael? There you are. So Michael's a very talented second-year interactive design student from IMD who is on board as our junior designer. Michael came in last Monday with a bit of a sunburnt face, so we thought it was quite fitting to give him a little bit of a sunburnt hue on this graphic there.
We also, as well as employing people, we also have a close working relationship with who we call the Code Wizard, which is why he's got his phone out now. He's taking a vanity picture of himself. The Code Wizard, an all-around nice guy, Mr. David Turner, who we contract to work with us for a couple of days per week. We've known David for some time. We mentored him through, university and especially his final year, where he would sort of cry to me every single week and say, I can't do this. And I was like, believe, David, you can do this. But basically, he's become a key figure in our business, and basically he makes the pretty things we design come to life. So we also collaborate with lots of other individuals that we've built connections with over our careers, including programmers, designers, developers, artists, copywriters, photographers, and videographers. The one thing that we have in common with partners that have stood the test of time with us is that we're all like-minded individuals. So whether you collaborate with people, whether you employ people, whether you contract people, it's important that you're creating an atmosphere where anything can happen. And for us, it's really important that we have an environment where you can be yourself rather than just working to work. And I think a really inspiring example of this is Valve Software Studios. Valve use what they call a fluid workspace. Every single desk within their office is on wheels, which basically allows new teams to form around projects as needed. So instead of having, offices with sort of brick walls and separation and things like that, they use cables that can grow and shrink depending on what is necessary for a particular project. So this is a little bit of an extract from the Valve handbook that each employee receives when they start work. It says that, why does your desk have wheels? Think of those wheels as a symbolic reminder that you should always be considering where you could move yourself to be more valuable. But also think of those wheels as literal wheels, because that's what they are, and you'll be able to actually move your desk with them. You'll notice people moving frequently. Often whole teams will move their desks to be close to each other. There is no organizational structure keeping you from being in close proximity to the people who you'd help or be helped most by. I just really think that that's a really creative way and a really inspirational way to motivate your employees.
So Facebook is another good example of encapsulating this spirit of collaboration. The content is driven by people both as users and employees, and it's the basis of their success. With each new member that joins the team, Facebook gave them the opportunity to contribute to the live site, be it an idea, a comment, or a line of code. This is a great way of onboarding the employee and making them feel part of the team.
So a couple of years ago, somebody may have seen it, the BBC had an interview with Mark Zuckerberg, and the one thing that sort of stuck out in my mind was that there was this one emphatic employee that was so excited that he had just come on board and they had pushed live this tiny little bit of code. And he was going around, telling everybody that this is fantastic, telling his friends and families. I mean, everybody knows what Facebook is. Even your granny probably knows what it is. 1 billion users worldwide. And this little piece of code, he contributed to this whole massive thing that is Facebook, and he was just so excited about it. And as we said, that's just a fantastic way to inspire and motivate, the people you work with, and it is a fantastic way of onboarding them.
So for us, as well as client work, we're also involved in quite a few in-house projects that hopefully will eventually monetize with the ethos of those being involved having a share in the profit from its success. If nothing more, it might even be a few quid at the end of the month to buy everybody a pint, but this really helps get everyone invested in the project and basically gets the best out of everyone without the sort of constraints of time or budget restrictions that we may have with our bread and butter clients.
So I absolutely love this quote. My father told me this, and he said that there's no such thing as profit. There is only being in business or not being in business, and this really stuck with me. For me, it's part of the notion that money shouldn't be the only motivation for your business. What matters is that you're doing something that you enjoy doing, and you're working with people that you want to work with in an environment that respects your individuality and your skills. You've all heard the quote, if you choose a job you love, you will never work a day in your life. And that's what we feel is important. Don't get me wrong, by no means am I saying that you have to work for free. In fact, I'm saying the opposite of that. But turnover should not validate your existence as a business. And the people you work with and the work you're producing should. And as your business grows, you should be rewarding those people. And we'll talk a little bit now about taking risks and some of the things that we've done. We like to think that we have a good synergy and a good relationship with our clients. And I guess this diagram outlines a sort of typical interaction. So this is what we call the usual client relationship. Generally speaking, a client would commission us to do the project. So you all know the drill. You have the initial meetings, the face-to-face, if at all possible. You sort of throw around some of the ideas, the brainstorming sessions, the wireframes, etc., whatever discipline you're in. You do the work, you get sign-off from the clients, and then they pay you, and you don't see them again. You don't see them again unless they have all their work for you. But if a project is a massive success off the back of your design, you will see nothing more than your initial fee that you were paid to do that work. But that's just a fact of business. You were paid for your contribution, and it basically ends there. But sometimes
there's an opportunity that occurs that can disrupt this model. And I'm sure every freelancer or studio has had one of these emails where some folk think that they've got the next big thing and they want you to buy into their vision, however vague or suspicious. And generally these people are fishing for free or low-paid work, but balancing the skepticism with optimism can sometimes uncover a real opportunity.
I suppose I have we have a good example of this. Recently we got contacted asking, where were you available for work? They've had this amazing idea. It was going to be amazing. And we were like, yeah, okay, well, it's worth an email back to sort of see what that is. So they said that they basically wanted to create Music Magpie except for used clothes. So we said, okay, well, they've already sort of taken that market, but we'll have a look anyway. So they said, but we're on a tight budget. So emailed back, what's your budget? Got an email back, £150. And we were kind of like, okay, the magnitude and the amount of work that's involved in that is just going to be, you're going to need a lot more money than that. But there was all this promise of, there's going to be, if you do it for this price in the future, this is going to be massive, it's going to be really, really big, and, there's going to be loads more work in it. We've all heard this story before. But I guess sometimes if a really good opportunity comes up, it is worth taking the risk. And this is one of the ones that we're going to tell you about.
So we were in the fortunate position to meet some really interesting people with a fantastic opportunity. Originally, there wasn't much of a budget to begin with, but we felt so strongly about their idea that we bought into the business through our work. The company is called Metal Rhino, and this is the brand that we came up with. Now, Metal Rhino is handmade equipment for individuals that practice functional fitness or CrossFit, if anybody's heard of that. And it's made here in Belfast. So we've taken on all of the design work from branding and product placement to even down to sort of t-shirt design, and of course the website. And this is all based on a percentage of the profit from the sales. So this is a sample product, which code name is the Rhino. This is real equipment for athletes who are interested in raw strength and conditioning. or as Tim likes to put it, primal brutality. So an important point to notice that these guys aren't selling 200 products. They're focused on making 10 or 12 pieces that they make better than anyone else in the market. The production of the equipment was also exciting for us because we're directly involved in that. An example of that is where we were instrumental in the colour of the equipment. We came up with the style guide that the primary colour was grey, which is reminiscent of a rhino. And we also consistently set the handles to be black so that it was a visual indication of where you place your hands, just in case anybody didn't know.
So, I'm not sure how many of you here have sort of ever discussed brand placement on fitness equipment. I know that we certainly hadn't, and it was certainly something that was new to us. But it's not often you'll sort of catch us with, going down to somewhere with a measuring tape and sort of taking photographs of that. But this is a way that we went. We didn't know how to do this. We were making this up as we went along. We're like, how do we get this brand onto this, onto this equipment? So we went down. We got a measuring tape. We took a few photos, and we took that back. We put the dimensions of this in the Illustrator, and then we were able to send that off to the printer. I have absolutely no idea if that's the proper way of doing it, or if I'm going arse about face. But it worked for us, and this is how we ended up actually photoshopping to the exact dimensions onto these images. A representation of what the branding would look like on this equipment. And there are a lot of dedicated people making this project happen, and the core team consists of Ryan, who likes to call himself the talent coach. He's the guy who's bringing all these people with the required skills together. There's Scott Brady, who's a personal trainer, and he just has an incredible knowledge of this fitness arena. And there's Ryan, number 2, who is just a phenomenal craftsman, and he's the guy who actually makes this equipment. But in addition to this, we've assembled a core team of passionate folk who are also, as invested in the project as we are. And we've also brought in people ourselves, including Richard Trainer from Red Sky and I, to help with the photography, which we feel is just an absolutely invaluable part of this project. So this is Scott, aka the Professor, and he's basically, this guy is as well as being an absolute tank, is a professor in biomechanics and nutrition, has a background in nutrition.
And this is Marianne. Marianne is a Twitter and YouTube fitness guru with a sort of crazy amount of hits on every video that she releases, with I think at least 20,000 on every one. And she's also aligned herself with Brett Contraire, who is a very well-known blogger in the functional fitness arena.
This is just some behind the scenes of how we went about, captioning photography. We were there on the day, we were given our insight into this and how things should be shot. But you can see none of these photos were they're not Argos catalog or Next catalog pose. These are real people using this equipment. The guy here you can see is Ian Young. He's a world kickboxing champion, and he's a local hero as well. If any of you follow local football, you might remember him from, he used to play for Linfield, and he actually won 3 trophies with them. But what we're trying to do is, these are all shots of live gear, and we're trying to bring this application of the core values across the whole project. So we're not fans of stock photography in the same way that we're not fans of going out and buying a template and applying that to a client job, because we believe that experiences should be bespoke and created from the ground up. Therefore, photography to us plays a really important part in portraying not only the image but the feel of the overall project.
What that previous video didn't show is that shortly after, about 30 seconds after I stopped filming, Ian punched the punching bag that hard and it ripped the punching bag off the wall and it nearly took his head off. So this is one of the still frames that we managed to get just before that. So that's Richard Trainer's work. You can see he's using a yellow flash to sort of highlight and carry through the brand. You'll see how we carry that through to the website as well. This is Amy Fuller, who, if anybody follows professional snowboarding, she's ranked number 7 in the world. She is well known for using new fitness methods to train. She's also the only female to successfully pull off a double backflip competition.
So if you ever have played like Shaun White snowboarding on like the PlayStation 2 or something, I think you double tap circle and then you hit triangle or something like that. But this you can see Amy is actually using the rhino. And hopefully from this you're able to see that there's a lot of dedicated people making this project happen, and what we love about it is the raw handcrafted approach of Metal Rhino and the fact that they're doing something different, but not only that, they're doing it right here in Belfast. This project in particular is about selling a vision, and it's about selling a lifestyle that's been created by these local athletes that are highly regarded as local heroes. So this is neither for the high-end market or the low-end market. The secret is identifying an area of growth and getting a team who are passionate about the product. Ryan likes to call this the Boojum effect, which is basically guys in business suits are queuing next to guys in tracksuits, to get their burritos. And it is the all-encompassing mid-market.
So we also designed T-shirts, as you can see, worn by Scott. Being completely honest, this was an extremely last-minute thing, and we pulled them together in about 10 minutes, but they turned out not too bad. And once again, we played on the Belfast aspect, and this married well with the primal beast idea that we have and that we're using as the tagline. So this is a snippet of the initial concept that we have for the website, which is launching next month. If anyone has seen our work, you'll know that it's usually very clean and minimal, flat design. We felt that this project allowed us to experiment with different styles and step outside our comfort zone. So we're excited to be attached to this project and to put it out there. Carrying across this field of the project, we used the floor texture from the imagery as the background to tie in with the Belfast theme. And again, you'll see the yellow to represent the famous landmark of the Harlem and Wolf. Quality, strength, local craft, rawness are all the important ingredients that we're carrying through this project.
So this next slide, we're really proud of. I'm going to let it play for a second. I'm going to talk about the future.
That took way too long.
Yeah, it did take way too long. You have no idea how long that took. In Keynote, I don't even know. It's like Pixar quality. I don't know. But our expedition so far, we've actually talked about people. We've talked about collaboration. We've talked about taking risks. And basically underlying that is being absolutely passionate about what you do. So we'd also like to share some of our future plans as our journey continues.
So the next big thing that we're excited to announce are our own digital products. Now, I know there are lots of companies here in Belfast already doing this, such as Get Invited, Typecast, Performer Sports. And we see this as our next step.
This is a big Steve Jobs reveal that we didn't do any transitions for, but we should have. But we're really happy to announce that later this year we're going to be announcing Little Thunder Books, which is our output for both digital and print publications.
So Tim and I are both parents with young kids, so we're particularly excited to announce that we'll be launching children's books, including Upon a Star by Jordan Henderson. Sure where Jordan's at?
Jordan.
Sorry, right at the back there. So we really feel it's important to harness the talent that exists in this country, which is why we're delighted to be working with the likes of Jordan. And we'll also bring on board other story writers and give them a platform for their work to be illustrated and distributed both digitally and through print publication.
Here is some character concepts for an upcoming book that we're working on with Jordan. The main character in this story is actually my family cat called Chalky. After years of car sales and being a financial advisor, I never knew that my dad actually had a talent for writing storybooks, but in his retirement, this is what he's taken to. So he sent me the sort of idea for his first book. It's only a short book, but I was just really sort of humbled by the sort of passion that went into that book and the sort of the storytelling and the real sort of human factor behind that. I sent this to Gabriel, and we sort of thought, this is a really nice book, and we're now investing in this project, and this is going to be one of the books that we're going to be sort of launching later this year, and we're sort of really, really excited about this. So, as I said earlier, this is some of our initial prototypes of sort of character design for Chalky himself.
For as long back as we've documented, relationships between people have existed. It's been the foundations for communication, regardless of language or ability. These relationships are vital for our survival and for our individual development. Work has been created by people in collaboration with people for the purpose of serving people. And without these people, there would be no such thing as business.
You know, people are our strongest asset and our strongest resource, and they are the intelligence, they are the skill, they are the decision makers, they are the energy behind the success or even the failure of an idea or a product. And companies like Apple and Google are known for their innovation and the quality of their products, but it's the people who come up with the ideas. They're the people who are developing these services that we all know and love, and they decide how to handle challenges. We're all innovators.
So the most important point that we've learned from our expedition so far is that the best thing about working should be the people that you work with.
Thank you.